All right, starting 7-3. It's calculator hard. I mean, it's just plug the numbers in and crank through it. It can be a little bit calculator challenging, but once you get it, it's not bad at all. So, we are going to do law of cosines today, which solves any triangle if you know SAS or side, side, side. We will use law of cosines. The development of this is very complicated. I'm not going to take you through it. I'm just going to give you the law of cosines.
Wait, why did we do 7.2 day 1 yesterday?
Because we're going to do a combo tomorrow. We're going to do a combo of 7, because there's really nothing. Did you think yesterday was difficult? No. So there's really no reason to spend a whole day just on that, but tomorrow we'll blend the two together and mix them all up, which is kind of a review for the quest, and then Thursday we'll do the same thing. We are going to have that quest on Friday. Quest. Because we're never going to have a test. So we're going to have a quest on the first half of the chapter, and we're going to have a quest on the second half of the chapter.
How are we going to have a test?
Never.
Ask why. Okay, all right then.
No need to.
On this stuff?
Correct. Okay. If we know, I'm going to start with SAS. Side, angle, side. Side, angle, side. So those are the three parts that we're going to know. What you would find first with law of cosine, because it would be impossible to do law of sines. I don't know if you can see it with no numbers in here, but I've got an angle, but I don't know a side. I've got a side, but I don't know an angle. I've got a side, but I don't know an angle. And only knowing one angle, I can't find those. So it would be impossible to set up law of sines with the proportions. So that's why we use law of cosines here. And the first thing you would find is the missing side. And law of cosines, here it is. It says this little side squared is equal to the two known sides squared and added. So that would be b squared plus c squared. Then you're going to subtract 2 times by the b times by the c times by the cosine of that known angle A.
That seems like a lot of work.
It's a little bit more, like I said, calculator challenging, but it's just plug and chug math. So that would be if I know little b, little c, and angle A. Let me switch it around and see if you can tell me. If I know, you don't have to do this on your paper. If I know little a, little c, and angle b for SAS, we would find little b first. So try to think of it as sides. Am I talking fast?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't even know what you just said.
We know A, we know C, and we know angle B.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to find little b first, the missing side. And I'd like you to kind of remember it, not in terms of A's, B's, and C's, but in terms of parts known. So what are these two things here? The two sides that I know, they are A and C, so it's A squared plus C squared minus 2 times A times C. So I'm just using the three parts that I know. So it's the two known sides squared, then it's 2 times the two known sides, and then times by the cosine of the known angle. Cosine of B. Could you write the third one for C squared? All on your own.
Yeah.
What would it be?
Squared
B squared
plus A squared.
plus A squared. Would it matter what order I write those in? No, because we're adding, it doesn't matter. Then what?
A
Minus 2 times
A
AB times
times cosine
times cosine
C.
of C. That's it.
Is that all we're doing today?
Well, that's if we know SAS. What we can do to make our lives a little bit easier, if I know side, 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 we need to find an angle first. And the angle will be solved over here, so we'd have to work, do some algebra to rearrange these.
You're going to do that, right?
Right now, yes. Okay, so this was for SAS. You're going to find that. Now we want to, knowing side, 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 and we're just going to do one working backwards, and then we're going to write the other two. We're going to take this equation and solve it for the cosine of A, the cosine of B, and the cosine of C. So let's start with the first one. A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine of A. So algebraically, we're going to kick everything to the other side and leave cosine of A here. That's our goal. So, algebraically, what should I be doing first? Not yet. Subtracting. What do I want to subtract off?
B squared and C squared.
Yes, I want to subtract B squared and subtract C squared. Bring them over to the other side. Subtract B squared, subtract C squared. So on the left, I'm going to start with the A squared. Then I said I'm going to subtract B squared and subtract C squared. And then I'm going to still have the negative 2BC cosine of A. Times, that's all multiplied there. Negative 2 times B times C times cosine of A. I kind of put a space in there, but it's all multiplied. How do I get rid of that negative 2BC that's attached to my cosine of A?
Divide.
Divide, because it's being multiplied there, so we're going to divide by negative 2BC. So you divide this whole side by negative 2BC. So that would tell me that the cosine of A equals A squared minus B squared minus C squared all over negative 2BC. Okay. Now I'm going to point some things out to help you remember what order things go in so you don't have to remember the letters. Yep, I'm going to wait till everybody's done because this is the, so you don't have to keep looking back. Okay, are you ready? This is how you're going to remember it. If I want to find angle A, I know it's these three sides up here, but one of them's positive, then the other two are subtracted. Like this could be minus C squared minus B squared. Do you agree that's still the same thing?
Yeah.
But I got to start with the A. So whatever angle I'm finding, that's the side I have to start with, and then subtract the other two squared. And then in the bottom, see how I got the B? It's the second two. It's the two that were being subtracted that are multiplied in the bottom. Does that make sense? What you can try to remember? So angle A, start with A, subtract the other two. The two that are subtracted are the two that are multiplied down here.
So who would write the other two?
We're going to write the other two right now. You ready? We're going to see if you know it. Cosine of B. Write it out for me. All on your own. Those that can. Without doing all the algebra, just write out the formula right now. No algebra. Think you got it, Jamie? She's like, don't call on me. Let's see. What do you got? We'll see. What'd you write?
Were we supposed to write right above it? How
Yep, just like this.
equals B squared minus A squared minus C squared
So far, so good?
all over 2 negative 2AC.
Perfect. Can the A and the C be switched here? Yes. How'd you do? Everybody else?
I put a B where the A is supposed to be.
You put, that would be bad. You finding B, you got to start with B.
Yeah.
And then the other one would be cosine of C. Write that one out. Try and get it right this time, Kenley.
Thanks.
I have confidence. Third time's the charm for you. Okay, Kinley, what'd you write?
Alright, we got your c squared
Yep,
minus a squared
yep,
minus b squared
very good,
all over negative 2ab.
very good.
Solid.
Okay, we ready to practice it?
No.
All right, I think I only have like 2 examples and then an area formula, so. It's pretty easy math. Is there a lot of room for little errors? Yes. But do I see the big, oh, I don't even know what I'm doing on this? No. I see little tiny things. Oh, you put the number in the wrong spot, or you didn't type it in the calculator right. Dumb stuff.
How much room is there?
Oh, about as, well, I don't know.
Like how many college rules lines?
I'm going to say
Wow.
8.
Oh,
I'll go with- Yeah.
Why did my grandma call me at 10:30?
Why didn't you answer?
Because she lives in Texas.
Maybe she's got the whole.
Is it in Texas? She doesn't have Ebola. Like an hour. Yeah, it's literally only an hour behind me. She knows I'm in school too. She forgets. It's okay.
Okay, we're going to solve the triangle, just like we've been doing. So sketch yourself a triangle.
Is there gonna be any of that 2 triangle shenanigans?
Nope. The only angle side side is the ambiguous case.
It's like tangent. It's the complicated one.
Oh, I didn't. This was supposed to be little c. Sorry, little c.
I was wondering.
Yep, totally missed that in my notes. Little c. So what is the positioning of the 3 parts I gave you?
Side angle side.
Side, angle, side, SAS. And like I said, everybody wants to use law of sines because it's easy. If you try to use law of sines, you can't set anything up. So it tells you it must be law of cosines. So what should we be finding first?
Well,
Will be.
Little b. You have to find little b first. So, we're using the formula says, law of cosine says, little b squared equals. Do I need to show you again, or you think you got it kind of memorized?
nope, we got it.
You got it. What does the formula start out saying to do?
40.
Square both of the 2 sides and add them. So it doesn't matter where I start. 42.3 squared plus 25.9 squared. Then what comes next? Minus 2 times each of those numbers. Times by the cosine. And sometimes you'll see a lot of people put sine here. That's another common mistake, is to put sine there instead of cosine. 0.4. Okay, there is nothing tricky here. Type that whole line in one chunk. Did you run off the paper? Is that what you said? Oh, you ripped it. Okay, calculate. You should practice this. It's like I said, if anything, it's a little bit calculator challenging. Where's mine? Over here. Yep.
I got an error.
How could you get an error when you just got to type it all the way in?
Oh, wait, it's a degree. I thought it was second.
What are you talking about?
What?
I swear to God, you had a second couple of them. I thought it was a degree. 62.8.
Yeah, so when I did my just one line, I got 3,937, but that's b squared. So you have to square root that to get b.
62.
62.8.
Let's go 7.
3 sig figs on the sides. Okay, now, this is where there's a little catch. If you stick with law of cosines to find either A or C, you're fine. But we actually have enough information now to do law of sines, because I've got a side with an angle. I can revert back to what I know and set up proportions. But the trick to that is, if you want to use law of sines, you must find the smallest remaining angle. Well, you asked something I didn't know the answer to.
What do you mean?
Did I spell it wrong? Remain. Oh, it didn't even come close. Remaining. At least you knew what I meant. I was listening to the conversation. My brain obviously can't multitask at all. Okay. So you must find the smallest remaining angle first. And the reason is, when you set up your proportions, the 3 parts you use might be the angle side-side situation, which means there's 2 possible triangles, even though we know there's only 1. But remember, when you do law of sines, you do the inverse sine, it always gives you the smallest angle, and then you always had to find the bigger one by subtracting from 180. So if we know we're finding an acute angle, we're going to be good to go. If that didn't make any sense, just remember this rule here. So, on your note card, when you're doing law of cosines and then you switch to law of sines, just tell yourself, I have to find the smallest remaining angle first. How do I know which one's going to be smaller, A or C?
Smaller side.
Across from the smaller side. So C would be this one we want to set up. So we're going to set up the law of sines proportion, 62.8, over the sine of 132.4. And then it's 25.9 over the sine of C. And remember, you got to do an inverse sine at the end, just like we did yesterday. Angle, yep. She's got a 17.7. I haven't done it yet.
Me too.
You got it too? Have been verified? Well, I'm not even going to bother then. No problems with the 17.7?
None at all.
None at all. How do I get an angle A? That's my last part.
I don't know.
180 minus 132.4 plus 17.7. If you believe Kenley.
It's 29.9 actually.
It is 29.9? Come on, Kenley.
You guys, 6 figs.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What was after the 9? You got to look here. 3 sig figs. Or the 10th place on the angle.
Maybe next week, yeah.
Maybe next time. Yeah, that's a good one.
No.
Okay. One more. We're just going to do one more. I'm not going to save the area one for tomorrow. Good? No.
So I got the person wrong.
Yep. Yep.
Just trying to help. Just trying to make sure you don't fail.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. So that was a SAS problem. And now we got to do a side, side, side. Mm-hmm.
She said if you want to use the law of sines,
Yep.
what would you do?
If I didn't, I'd go into law of cosines, because I know all three sides. I'd go and use, where's my first page at?
Okay, is that C big or little?
A little. Where's my formulas? Okay, I didn't even go anywhere. Well, you're going to see it. I'll show you on here when we do it. Like, how did I lose the first page of notes already? I'll show you on here what you would do. So we've got all three sides known. Little a is 3.1, little b 4.9. Everybody knows how to label the triangles and getting everything in the right spots? So this is obviously side, side, side. Now again, once we find...
Yeah, slow your roll.
What? Once we find our first angle, we will be able to set up law of sines. If not, we can just continue to use law of cosines. So, if you want to use law of sines after the first part, you must find the largest angle with law of cosines. If you want to use law of sines for the next part. Sines next. Nope, two different rules. There's a rule for SAS, and then there's a rule for side, side, side.
So SAS is smallest.
Smallest, yep.
Side is
Mm.
largest.
Yep. So with, yep. And I will show you what you could do on the other one after we start this one out.
So what are we doing on this?
Okay, we are going to find the largest angle first. So what's going to be the largest angle? C. So we're going to use law of cosines. And you see it says cosine of C. Let's just write out the formula first, then we'll plug in letters. So if I'm trying to find angle C, look back at the beginning of the notes. What?
We got C squared.
I got to start with C squared minus the other two
A squared.
minus B squared all over
2.
negative 2
Negative 2. AB.
AB. Remember, it's the two sides that are subtracted go in the bottom. Okay, so there it is in terms of letters. Now we plug our numbers in. So the cosine of C will equal, I need the C first.
6.2.
6.2 squared minus 3.1 squared minus 4.9 squared all over negative 2 times 3.1 times 4.9. Okay, a little bit calculator challenging here. You can type this all in one line if you do what?
I got an error. Parentheses.
Parentheses. Where do the parentheses have to be at?
Like everywhere.
Like only in two spots. Where would they need to be? Top and bottom. Numerator needs to have a set of parentheses, and denominator would need a set of parentheses. So start with, so the calculator knows, do all that first, then do all this second, and then divide those two answers. That will give you your cosine ratio, not angle C yet.
Did anybody get a negative answer? Yeah, I got a negative 1.66.
Negative 1 point what?
6? No, negative. I got a negative.
Give me like,
Negative.
oh.
Yeah, I got a
You guys need
negative.
to do the cosine.
Well, this,
No,
I
that's
can,
before the
before you do the inverse, what'd you get?
negative 36 point.
Nope, that's wrong.
Negative
Negative
0.1.
5,
Yeah, that's right.
8,
Yeah,
5,
like that.
7.
I didn't see anything.
There, so try and make sure you can get that. Is it negative or positive?
Negative.
Negative. That just means that rotated, that angle is obtuse. It took me into the second quadrant where cosine's negative. So we should be coming up with an obtuse angle here when you do your inverse cosine.
I got 0.1.
So make sure everybody can get that before I move on. Can you get that? Okay, anybody not able to get it? Need me to show?
Wait, get
This right here. You're good? And then do inverse cosine and what'd you say, 99 point what?
99.
Just 99.
Wait, you
Oh, we got, yep.
No, 6 it.
wait.
What?
What did you just do?
Inverse cosine
Of the answer?
of the answer.
Yeah, 99.
Okay. So we found angle C is 99 degrees. Okay.
So was the answer 0.1586 and then you did the inverse?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it negative?
Negative 0.158657 blah, 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 blah.
And then you did the inverse.
Inverse cosine of that, and that came up with 99.
Now you have to do one.
Okay. Now, so we know this, so we could set up law of sines now. If you didn't find the largest angle, you have to go through law of cosines again, just like this, but say for angle A. And you would use these two sides, like in a SAS position. Actually, you don't use all three sides, sorry. So I think law of cosines is much longer and complicated, more room for mistake, where if you just follow this one little rule to start with, then we can set up the law of sines business. So the law of sines business says I can set up what? What can I set up? 6.2
Sine of 99
for sine of 99.
equals 4.9 over 7.
Yep, and it doesn't matter which angle I find now. I know they're both going to be acute, which what the inverse sine always gives me is an acute angle. So it doesn't matter which one I find next. So you went 4.9 over sine of B. And then it's cross products and inverse sine.
I got 51. Same.
Same. And then you just have to find your angle A.
30. Yeah, 51.
Okay, two simple rules to remember, and you can make the rest of the problem somewhat simple instead of going through the big law of cosines again. All right, so starting with SAS, you find your missing side with law of cosines, then you find the smallest remaining angle. Here, find the biggest angle, and then you're good to go. So if you can remember those two rules and keep on your note card, you're going to be good. Okay, right here. SAS, you have to start with, you got to find your missing side. Then find the smallest remaining angle. Side, side, side. Start off right away finding the largest angle. If you can remember that, it's easy stuff. All right, I have for your homework pleasure, page 303. 8, 12, 16, 18, 22, 24.